Hello, everyone. Um, Welcome to the IXUS 2025.2 release highlights webinar. Um, so as always, we like to present this just as a demonstration to show what the new features are that we've been implementing um, and let you know what you can expect with this release. So I'll start the presentation now, and then we'll do a short demonstration with the modeler, where you can just see the features in action as well. Okay. All right, so this is the IXUS Manager and Modeller version 4.15. So there's a slight difference between the Modeller and the Manager version. There was a few things that we had to resolve during the development. And here is some of the highlights that are included in this release, but I'll go through each of these now. Okay, so first of all is the upgrade the manager to the 64-bit. It's probably one of the bigger items in this release. So essentially, the manager has been upgraded to 64-bit. It's not that relevant to most of the audience here, but if you are self-hosted for the manager, then a 32-bit system obviously will no longer be supported. But I think most of us here that won't relate to them because we are hosting you on AWS. Yeah, so essentially this will hopefully significantly increase the performance of the manager itself, especially with regards to memory usage. Not very easy to demonstrate that in a presentation, but yeah, hopefully the slide will do. Moving over to some of the modeler enhancements. First one is the barrier objects that we've added to the modeler. So essentially this allows you to create a physical barrier with like chains in the modeler interface. So one of the nice things as well is you can also select a status field. It's something that we aim to do with some other type of features as well in the future. But essentially, how that will change in the modeler is that you can assign a specific color for this barrier to be associated with a certain status. For example, you can have the to be removed as indicated as red, as an example. And these colors for each of these statuses is also saved in the IXUS.ini file. Moving on to our next feature is the create line annotation from existing geometries. So this allows you to also create line annotations from line geometries as well as polygon type geometries. So for example, this new barrier feature is one of the line type geometries that can be selected for this feature. And what it will do is automatically create the line annotation with the same corner points as the geometry that was created before. The nice thing with the barrier feature as well is there's some other let's call it settings that's also copied from this. For example, the color, if you have your barriers set to, for example, as to be removed, and which is then associated with a red color, that will also copy that color over to the line annotation, as well as the markers and the marker spacing. So our next feature is the area calculation label. So this allows you to create a surface in the modeler with a bunch of points, and it will then calculate what the surface area of that is as a label. So you can do this manually by selecting all the points or the corners, or you can select from lobe imprints. So for existing lobe imprints on geometry, you can also right click on that and say create area annotation from that. There is something that we'll need to note as a possible future enhancement. That's a little limitation on the feature, but I'll demonstrate that in the modeler itself. Oh, the background color can also be adjusted on the IXUS.ini file. And then another bunch of enhancements actually that's a little bit difficult to demonstrate in a webinar, but it's essentially further optimizations for our calculation engine. And essentially there's a lot of things here that has been done. I'm not going to go through the entire list, but we did spend some significant time on making our calculations faster. This will the speed improvement will vary based on the specific scenario that's being simulated, as well as your specific machine that you're using to calculate. Okay, and then there's also some minor features or enhancements that we implemented. So the first one being improved rotate selection for blueprints. So it's essentially this green grid that you see over here when you have the specified rotation selected. So it was previously very densely populated with these lines. So we've implemented something that makes it a bit not as crowded. We also then added add copy button for the frame mounting structures. So it's actually a feature that already exists in the modeler, but a lot of users don't know about it because it's a bit, let's call it hidden. But essentially, if you select an existing frame that you've added on for example, a pole, you can copy that frame that you've already created. So you don't have to create the same frame over and over again. So now the change that we've made is to change the button to say add copy once you have selected an existing frame. The other enhancement is the environmental slice field point to no longer indicate high or large values within scientific notation. That was a bit confusing for users to view the data there. So now it will simply display the number. And as always, we do focus on addressing some of the bugs that are in the tool. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but here's a few bugs that we've also resolved during this release. Okay, and then we can go over to the demonstration. Okay, so I have the modeler open here. And as you can see, I have a base station demonstration here where I already have added the barrier object. So in this case, I've set my barrier as an existing barrier, and I've set my colors to be orange for an existing barrier. As you can see, there's also a lobe imprint added to this rooftop. So for example, if we would like to implement something that is a bit like a better mitigation, let's call it like that, we can now select a feature, and we can say we can add a post over there. Let's make it a little bit interesting, something like that. And now we can say this as a status proposed, and you can set also the post spacing and stuff like that. So you can make that 8 or whatever you want. So my existing one is now set to a dark blue. So then you can now distinguish between the different statuses. And for example, you can now say that this barrier actually needs to be removed. So we can select that one and set it to be removed. Now it will be indicated as red. Okay. Then moving to the next one is the line annotations. So if I right click this, for example, you'll see there's now a feature annotate and there's add line annotation. So this will then also copy the points that I've added, and it will also copy the associated colors for this specific barrier. And the box and the solid line, that's just my defaults. So then I can select OK, and now it will create a line annotation as well on the same location. And this is also true for something like a railing. But as you can see now, it will simply use my default color that I have set for my line annotations. This will actually also work for a polygon. Okay. Then moving to the next one is the area annotation. I think the best one to actually demonstrate first is if I right click on this barrier again, you'll see there's also annotate and say add area annotation. That will then pre-populate this interface with the corners, and I can place a text label and it will calculate that. However, in this case, I actually would probably want to indicate this whole area over here. So I can also select that and say add corner. So let's do something like this. But then it will calculate the area like that. So the background color for this can also be, as I mentioned, set in the IXUS.ini file. The other option is simply doing this manually, obviously. So you can just manually add the corners like this. The other option is to right click on existing lobe imprint and say add area annotation. And that will then calculate that. This, as I mentioned during the slides, this does have a limitation at this stage, which I'll just show right now. Let's go to that lobe imprint that I had previously. So at the moment, this lobe imprint is all seen as one. Let me hide this quickly. This is all, even the lobe imprint on the parapet wall is all seen as one lobe imprint. So I can now create an annotation from this. However, it will calculate the entire surface of this as well as that. And here's actually another little piece that was part of the same lobe imprint. So that's something in the future that we will add in a new enhancement where we would rather separate these different pieces of lobe imprint into their own pieces. Okay. All right, then moving over to just the smaller enhancements. So if I go satellite image, essentially the change that was made here is if you double click this and you say specify rotation. So this grid was previously very like dense. So this was now made a bit less cluttered. And then the add button. So let's show that. So we can add a pole, add a mounting structure. Let's make a frame. Let's give it 3 sides. Now I need to just think in feet, which is a bit difficult for me. Let's make that 0.5, make it 2 feet. Bar lengths 3, something like that. So now that frame already exists. So if I now click on the frame, you'll see it changes to add copy. So then I can click that, and that will create another frame that is the same with the same settings. I can just set this the height. Okay. And the next one is just I'll try to make a environmental slice with a very large value. Let's put it like there. Oh, that wasn't too big. Okay, so this is now this would previously have indicated in an scientific notation. So now we're just displaying the number like that. Okay, and that is it for the modeler enhancement. So obviously the calculation speed and the manager upgrade I won't be able to demonstrate, but I think that concludes our modeler demonstration. Okay, yeah, then this is just the support links again for your information. Please log support tickets if you have a, let's call it a comprehensive item that you would like to us to help you with. But if it's just a quick thing, then we can always just send an email to support@ixup.com. We will be the release notes is already uploaded to the knowledge base on the help desk, but we will also make available a copy of this recording. Yeah, and that is it for the presentation. Thank you very much.